So the state of Maine has decided that migrants will get up to 2 years of free rent in a brand new apartment. And this will be subsidized using state funds. What do we got going on here? Let's get into it. I want some free rent. I know you want some free rent. Let's get some free rent. Let's get on this free rent bus, right?
Now this is insane. What?
Dozens of people showed up this morning to the grand opening of new apartments at the Brunswick Landing. These units were built specifically to house asylum seekers as they wait to receive their work permits, which can take months. There will be 60 apartments total here serving this purpose. 24 of them are ready now. State government will essentially pay the rent for 2 years. After that, the buildings will convert to market rate and affordable housing units. Some asylum seekers have already moved in and say this option of transitional housing is much better than living in a hotel or at a shelter.
Yeah.
In hotel,
New apartment?
There's rules and regulations.
Yeah.
And in a shelter too, we have so many people. We share kitchen together. We share the restroom together.
This is a very unique solution to a very exciting opportunity in our state. We have thousands of folks coming to Maine who want to make Maine home. We're doing everything we can to help that situation.
Okay. We'll see how that goes. If you're enjoying this content, love to have you subscribe. Hit the like button for this video. Hit the notification bell. We release a ton of content. Twice, Monday through Friday, we release a video. Once on Saturday, once on Sunday. Love to have you join for all that. Back to your regularly scheduled program. Let's back up just a sec, and we'll take a look at what happened this summer in Maine. This is kind of in response to just Maine has basically been overrun. Maine City says volume of asylum seekers now crisis situation. Meanwhile, they're building apartments and converting them into units for single, not family units of migrants, individual migrants. And so now Maine is scrambling for resources. Well, that's what happens when you've got a limited number of funds and you're spending them all on stuff like this, right? It's just, it's incredible.
They've faced at the Portland Expo shelter. Good evening, everyone. I'm Amanda Hill.
And I'm Brian Yacono. Families at the Expo are also asking some difficult questions now about where they are supposed to go when that shelter closes. That's set to happen before the end of the summer. News Center Maine's Jack Mulmid has more.
We need your help! We need your involvement!
Frustration.
Je viens de fuir en Afrique la souffrance. Arrivé ici, je continue toujours la souffrance. Je veux la solution.
Ça ne marche pas bien ici. Ça ne marche pas bien.
And anger. Because when you leave a country torn apart by war and you come to ours, you hear that there's no space for you.
I don't know how to explain. It's very bad.
Johnny Francisco is just 18 years old and moved here from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. He says he's staying at the Portland Expo with his sister and mother.
And here we are sleeping at bad conditions. They're giving us expired food.
Complaints of poor living conditions and no answers as to where they will go once mid-August hits, when the city and venue will no longer allow them to stay here. We are having a bad time. The people who work inside don't respect us. There is no food, nowhere to sleep, and we are having a bad time. 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗢𝗔𝗕𝗟𝗏 is from Angola.
America.
He speaks French and says the protest started as word spread the shelter was shutting down. They told us we had to leave this place on August 16th. And go where? There is no place else for us to sleep at.
We don't have solutions right now. We are working to try to find them.
City staff, Department of Health and Human
We don't have solutions right now. That kind of tells you everything, right? Hey, we're a sanctuary city. Bring them all in. Oh, man, we don't have any solutions. Look what happened. I mean, who would have seen this coming? Just overrun by thousands of illegal immigrants. Who would have seen this coming? Well, anyway, let's just give them a couple of years rent and we'll see how this goes.
Human Services Director Kristen Dow and Mayor Kate Snyder say they listened to asylum seekers about their complaints.
It's taken us a while to get here with the situation that we have in the city and the state, so it's going to take us a little while to figure it out.
As Portland's housing crisis for everybody, including asylum seekers, boils over, the city approved a new asylum seeker shelter. There's just one problem.
That right now is slated for single asylum seekers. So at this point,
So
no,
they can
these are
pack
all
'em in.
families that are here.
Nowhere
Suppose that.
for them to go. And for the young new Mainers here,
Of course I'm worried because I have a sick mother. I have a little sister. We have child here, and this is not condition for people.
in Portland, 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗢𝗡, News Center, Maine.
City staff tell us they will try to work on immediate complaints like those about the food in the coming weeks. They estimate about 270 people are currently staying at the expo.
Get a lot of comments. People say, hey, these illegal immigrants, they're not looking too bad. They look like they're well fed. They're complaining about food. Get a lot of comments like those. Hey, nice cell phone you got there. The resources that are out there, they're being spent. They're being spent. And tax-paying citizens, are you getting free rent? Citizens in Maine, are you getting free rent? Let me know in the comments if you've gotten your free rent, because you should get free rent. You've been paying into the system probably for years and years. And your leadership decides, yep, this is what we're going to do. We've got a little bit of a cluster here. We don't have enough resources, but let's convert some of this housing into single units for illegal immigrants. Crazy world right now, right? Let's take a look at, actually. Let's get into the story. A new program in Maine will provide asylum seekers, we know that, free rent for up to 2 years. The United States has seen an influx of migrants entering the country in recent months. Really? Hadn't noticed. Finding homes for migrants has become a key issue. Well, yeah, where are they going to go, right? Where are they going to go? You got to think these things through, particularly in communities that already have housing shortages. So all of the cities that have deemed themselves sanctuary cities have housing shortages because the policies in place are such that you have limited the supply of housing and you've driven housing prices through the roof. Seattle, prime example. Many have been living in shelters and hotels across the country, but one city in Maine is launching a program to give some migrants free housing. Brunswick, Maine plans to open 60 new apartments for migrants, with 24 of the units already complete. According to local news station 𝗪𝗧𝗛-TV, the units are specifically planned for migrants awaiting their work permits, a process that can take more than a year. So these people come in, they get an escort across the border by Border Patrol, unless you're at Eagle Pass in Texas, and then it's state police that are going to escort you in. A couple of different state military entities there that are helping migrants across the border. And then you come in and you get some free housing and then you get a work permit and then you're just off to the races. It's wild that we don't have a system that, goes at a slower pace and people get accepted in, as they get accepted, then they come to the country. This whole thing is just so backwards because it's like, oh yeah, come on in. And they get paroled, meaning they get let loose into the system, and it may take up to a year before they can legally work. So what do? They work for cash. I mean, they do what they got to do, right? Or, so many of you say, Sean, they're not working for the cash. They're doing criminal activity. Well, you bring in 8 million, whatever, 10 million, 12 billion, however many people we've brought in. I think we're at like 6.5 million, and it's going to be close to 7.5 or 8 million by the time the current administration's term expires. But those are just the known encounters. How many unknown folks do we have in the United States that are just running around willy-nilly doing shenanigans? We don't even know. It's in the millions. Right? We don't know. We don't know what they're doing, who they are, what's going on. But hey, let's give them 2 years rent. Should work out. Should be fine. The units are specifically planned for migrants awaiting their work permits, a process that can take more than a year. The program is being led by Maine State Housing Authority, the news station reported. Okay, so you've had how many thousand migrants come into your town and you've just, let loose 60 units? I mean, your resources only go so far, right? These are brand new apartment complexes. According to news station WCME, the state will help pay for migrants' rent using funds approved by the state legislature. So, citizens of Maine, your money. They're using your money. Did they ask you about that? No, just kind of did it, didn't they? No, we've got it. We see a need and we've got the resources. This is what we're going to spend our money on. Now, if you were a tax-paying resident back in the day and you became homeless in Maine, are you getting free housing? You getting 2 years of free apartment? Nice new brand new apartment? If you're not, yeah, this should be upsetting. Should be upsetting. So the program has enough funding to pay for rent for up to 2 years, but migrants will need to pay 30% of their rent once they find a job. Who's going to enforce that? Right? You're paying? You're making a payment? After the 2 years of the program are up, the housing built by the group Developers Collaborative will be converted to a mix of market rate and affordable housing unless officials decide there is need to extend the program. They're going to extend the program for years, right? I mean, there are some people hear about this kind of opportunity. Hey, let's go to Maine. I hear you can get a free apartment. That's what there's so much just rumor that is involved with the migration patterns of these illegal immigrants. They hear one thing, it gets spread around. That's all they have to go off of is rumor, because they have no paperwork that actually tells them, here's the process, this is what we're going to do. They just hear literally the telephone game, right? They hear from people here that have family here that are, just recently migrated, that kind of thing. And they tell them what's been happening there. And all these convoluted messages get sent back and forth. And so, you get a few thousand people. Hey, let's go to New Brunswick, Maine, and I hear they give you free 2 years of rent. Dan Brennan, the executive director of the Maine State Housing Authority, told WCSH that the program is a unique solution to a very exciting opportunity in our state. That opportunity, you've brought that on yourselves. You're a sanctuary state, right? Sanctuary city and sanctuary state. Good luck with that. There's got to be a process. There's got to be a timeline. There's just can't be this willy-nilly, send them across the border. It should work out just fine. That's just a hard no-go. That's a hard no-go. And these sanctuary cities that are doing this kind of stuff, I mean, it's not sustainable. It's not a plan. And what are you doing? I understand you recognize that you have a need for housing, but now you're kind of creating this, bait type situation, bait and switch. And come to Maine. Not that many of you, though. You got to keep some of you behind the line. We have thousands of folks coming to Maine who want to make Maine home. Oh, they want to make the United States home. Maine? Hey, great. Let's make it happen. We're doing everything we can to help that situation, he told the news station. Should you be? The federal government wants to let them in, let the Fed pay for them. It's kind of my thought, Again, that's our money. That's taxpayers' dollars. But these individual states and these individual cities are just so virtue-filled until they get to that Maine city says volume of asylum seekers now crisis situation. All right. So you got an opportunity or do you have crisis? Which one is it? Because you can't have both. Right? This is a crisis opportunity. Maybe we can. And the back and forth that happens here. More than 250 families applied to live in the apartments when the wait list opened last May, prompting officials to close it, reported the Times Record. So Maine, which has about 1.3 million people and has long been viewed as having a housing shortage, has struggled to maintain an influx of migrants. What city hasn't? What city do you hear saying, hey, we could use a few more. We're a little shy over here. Send some our way. How many of those do you hear about? Well, city officials in Portland have said that more than 1,600 asylum seekers arrived there last year. It's a city of about 20,000 people. So this has direct impact on the city's budget, just how the city is operated. Where do they go? What jobs are they getting? What jobs are available? So many questions. And the response has been, just bring them in. We'll work it out. We'll figure it out. The situation's been going on for a while. So it's going to take a little bit longer, that political rhetoric. The city planned to house migrants at the Portland Expo Center, which we heard complaining about. which can hold about 300 people, but that hit capacity last year. Housing designed specifically for migrants in southern Maine is scarce, with one other 50-unit complex in South Portland offering housing for them, reported the Press Herald. You're a town of 20,000 people. You're not going to have the resources to take care of everybody. We've got a church here in 𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗦𝗢𝗡 in south of Seattle. And this church has somewhere around 500 migrants living there. Combination of legal immigrants and homeless people, locals or drug trade, whatever it is, whatever walk of life they come from. But this church literally has 500 people. And we wonder why 911 and the fire department are called there all the time, right? I mean, this is just not shocking. These are not sustainable patterns of activity. It's not sustainable patterns of housing, because every damn place that is offered shelter, they've got housing shortages. You don't have the rural or suburban areas of Texas where they've got, plenty of land to roam. That's not where these folks are going. They're going to these sanctuary cities where they're just virtue signaling, come to us, it'll be great. We'll have the socialist utopia, help your fellow human being. And I'm all for helping a fellow human being. But there's got to be an order and there's got to be a process to it. And I was watching I'm going down to Eagle Pass. I'm going to do some reporting for you so you can kind of see what it looks like firsthand at Eagle Pass. And one of the videos I watched was another YouTuber, and he was just kind of doing a walk through Lukeville, which is another port south of Tucson, south of Arizona, kind of right there in that. And he was talking to some sort of law official, and he was asking him, what do you think the appropriate solution to all this is? And the guy was just like, man, it's such a complex problem. Once you bring these people in, what are you going to do? You're going to send them home? How are you going to do that? How's that going to go? So we've got this situation that doesn't really have a solution, but you're going to have to ratchet down on the number of people entering the country, period. Because you can't have 302,000 people like we had just pour across siege style across the southern border in the month of December 2023. 302,000 people across that we know of, known migrant encounters. So how many other, folks got in that we don't even know about? It's into the millions. It's literally into the millions now. So there's that. But hey, give them a couple of years worth of rent. We'll figure it out. Probably renew the program. That's what we're doing. All right. We'll see how long that works out. All right, everybody. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.